Welcome to Curiosity Repo. Today, we're diving deep into a question that affects what's on your dinner plate. Is sustainable seafood really, sustainable? The answer might just change the way you see the ocean forever. So picture this, we're 3,000 feet beneath the waves. There's an orange roughy, a fish that's lived for 73 years. She's ancient, and she's about to lay her very first eggs. But then, in an instant, her entire world is just shattered by a net wider than a passenger jet. She gets dragged to the surface, crushed, and then packaged with this neat little blue label that says sustainable seafood. And this isn't a movie, this is a true story. It really forces us to ask a huge question. What does that word sustainable actually mean when we're talking about the fish we eat? Well, the answer is kind of disturbing. It all goes back to this 70-year-old idea that, get this, was never even meant for our oceans. It was originally designed for chopping down trees.
It's called Maximum Sustainable Yield, or MSY for short. And the goal is pretty simple. Catch the absolute most fish you possibly can year after year without causing a total collapse. But here's the crazy part. MSY is designed to intentionally keep fish populations at just half their natural size. The goal is literally a half-empty ocean, on purpose.
Yeah, so you can imagine, a lot of top scientists today think this is just a complete disaster. They call it a zombie doctrine because this bad idea just refuses to die, and pseudoscience because it's led to the collapse of entire fisheries, like the famous Atlantic cod. The system just doesn't work.
And the numbers? Oh, the numbers absolutely prove it. As of early 2026, the United Nations says that over a third, that's 35.5%, of the world's fish populations are being fished past their limits. They're being emptied out faster than they can possibly recover.
Okay, so the science itself is shaky at best. But what about that little blue check mark you see in the supermarket? You know, the one from the Marine Stewardship Council, or MSC. It's supposed to be the gold standard, right? When we see that label, I think we all picture something kind of nice. Small fishing boats, careful local fishermen. But the reality is a world away from that. The MSC mostly certifies these massive industrial fishing operations, with boats longer than a football field, using gigantic destructive nets. In fact, get ready for this, a staggering 93% of all seafood certified by the MSC comes from these huge industrial-scale fisheries. Yeah, not exactly the small, family-run boat we had in our heads. So you have to ask, how does the MSC make its money? Well, it charges these big fishing companies millions of dollars to use its blue logo. It's what you'd call a pay-to-play system. And that creates a massive conflict of interest, right? If they're too strict, they lose their biggest customers and their income. And the problems don't stop there. It actually gets worse. Human rights groups have found forced labor and absolutely horrific working conditions on fishing boats that were part of MSC-certified fisheries. So that sustainable label says nothing, absolutely nothing, about the human cost.
I know this all sounds incredibly dire, super depressing, but this is where the story takes a really crucial turn. Is every single fish population just doomed? Is there any hope at all?
And surprisingly, the answer isn't a simple no. Here's the key. In places with strong rules and really good management, fish are actually making a comeback. This chart shows that on average, a lot of key fish stocks are recovering and are now above the target levels.
It's truly a tale of two oceans. In areas that are managed well, like the Northeast Pacific, over 92% of fish stocks are healthy. But in areas that are managed poorly, like the Southeast Pacific, it's less than half. So the problem isn't fishing itself, it's badly managed fishing. So if we actually know how to do this right, why isn't everyone doing it? Well, the answer, as it often does, comes down to money. Every single year, governments around the world give about $35 billion in subsidies to fishing companies. This is basically pocket money that encourages them to build bigger boats and fish way too much, even when it's not profitable.
But there is a clear path forward. First, end those harmful subsidies. Stop paying companies to overfish. Second, create more marine reserves. Think of them like national parks for the ocean, where fish can safely rebuild. Third, enforce strong science-based rules everywhere. And finally, use modern tech like satellites and AI to track boats and stop illegal fishing cold.
So you see, the problem isn't just one fish, or one net, or even one misleading label. It's the entire system that brings seafood from the deep ocean all the way to our plates. The next time you see a sustainable label, just ask yourself, what story isn't it telling? Thanks for watching. For more explainers that challenge what you think you know, follow Curiosity Repo.